So we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Do we need to declare a quorum first and then move into the swearing in? Okay, let's do that.
Let's swear.
No, you're good. You're good. They just got reappointed and.
I.
Have been appointed to the office of Commissioner of Planning and Zoning in the city of Clovis, state of New Mexico. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution and laws of the state of New Mexico, and faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability, so help me God.
I do.
Thank you. Thank you. When you come over here, we'll sign off, and then we'll all be done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, now that we're all legal, we can declare a quorum. If you would.
Vice Chair Morrison,
Here.
Commissioner Moore,
Here.
Commissioner Soul,
Here.
Commissioner Garza, Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Commissioner Klein,
Here.
and Commissioner Stewart.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, up next, we have election of a chairman. I would entertain any motions for that.
I entertain a motion to elect Vincent Soul as the chair.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any other?
Objections? Any other appointees? No?
Okay,
Roll call?
roll call?
Sure.
Or- Okay,
Vice Chair Morrison,
yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Soul,
Abstention.
Commissioner Garza,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Klein,
Absolutely.
Commissioner Stewart.
Yes.
Okay, great. Vinny, you're up.
Get in the seat, homie. I'll let you sit up front. No, yeah, you're good.
That means keep it moving. When I turn that over.
Well, thank you everyone for that. So moving on, we have the approval of the agenda. If there are no changes, I'll entertain a motion.
I move for approval.
Second.
We have motion by Commissioner Garza and second by Commissioner Marcus Smith. Will the clerk call roll?
Certainly, and just for informational purposes, you can do it by acclamation as well.
Perfect.
Oh, come on.
We don't have to call roll every time. Vice Chair Morrison,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Soul,
Yes.
oh, Chairman, I'm sorry, Commissioner Garza,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Klein, Commissioner Stewart.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Next is approval of the minutes of September 8th, 2021. Are there any changes or questions regarding the minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of the minutes as presented.
All right, we have a motion and a second by Commissioner, it's going to be Commissioner London?
Sure.
Yes, Commissioner London. Can I do this by acclamation?
Certainly.
Are there any objections? Okay, motion carries. No old business, onto new business. We have, first up, approval of zoning changes from residential single-family district mobile home overlay to commercial general district. Address of zone change is 220 Weatherford. Will staff go ahead and brief us on this?
Okay, so for us, our staff recommendation, the request for approval of rezoning Block 30, Lot 1 through 6, and Block 29, Lot 7 through 12 of Curry subdivision, from RS7 residential, single-family, 7 to, with a mobile home overlay, to commercial general, CG. It meets the requirements of Chapter 17 of the city's Unified Development Ordinance and is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. There is no compelling evidence that there would be a threat to public health, safety, or welfare, which is unique to the proposed request, and all adjoining property owners within 100 feet of the proposed rezoning were notified, and there was 0% protest.
Okay. Is the applicant here?
The applicants are here, yes.
Yes, did you wish to say anything? No. No? Okay, just want to make sure I didn't have to swear him in. Does any of the commissioners have a question?
I do. It states here the applicant is Christopher Finch. I take it that's you, Mr. Finch? Yes. But then again, the homeowner is Sammy May? Yes. And do we know what's the deal here? Why is somebody else applying for that zone change instead of the owner? Property? You need to come to the podium, sir, and state your name and address for the record.
We need to swear him in.
My name is Christopher Finch.
One.
I don't have it.
It's okay. Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm that the statements you give today will be truthful?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
So my name is Christopher Finch. I'm actually here on behalf of Shane May. He is the son of Miss May. He has power attorney over the property. And talking to him, we were asking about possible zone changes, and he was willing to step forward on our behalf to change it to commercial property, simply because he's actually doing business there, and it would actually make it a lot easier for him to continue doing business.
Continue business, so does a lawnmower fix repair?
Yes,
shop?
that's correct. It's his,
That what it's
his
gonna be?
parts. To be honest, that's what he basically said it was for. It was gonna be like a parts repair shop.
So what are you doing this?
I'm just speaking on behalf of him because he said he couldn't make it, so.
Okay. So on the application, on the back page of the application, actually on page 1, you'll have that zone change application. On the back of the page states there is a list of residents that signed this. And it says, I have no objection to the street name change. Is that an error here, or are we mistaken something?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. That is an error that we found on our form, and so that's nothing that the applicant did. That is something that Les actually discovered and is corrected in our forms. Now, whether or not the people names that are on there knew it was a zone change versus a street name change, since we haven't contacted these individuals, I'm not sure if they recognize that or what was explained to them in listing their names here. Les did send out all the notifications via mail to the property owners that would be affected.
So if I can interrupt, we actually did go and talk to each property owner on that block. We did notify them that of the zone change to help out Mr. May in turning it back to commercial. Nobody had any sort of issue, and we went from there.
So as far as the city's concerned, they didn't get anything either way from any of these applicants? Did you get normally there's a form that they fill out and write back, no objections or something like?
Correct.
You didn't get anything from them?
No feedback at all.
Okay. And And this is kosher, the applicant not matching the owner? Is that okay?
Speaking as their agent, yeah, correct.
And it's changing both of these, right? So if we move it back to the last page on this right here, both of those blue sections are going to be changed to, then they're both changing to the commercial, right?
Correct.
And then other than the one residence, there's no other residence on these streets?
There's mobile homes on both sides of the street. I think there's 3 that are occupied.
Okay.
But 2 homes on the other side, so, so there's still residents there.
But in transparency, I mean, I think we should divulge what's going on here. So it's a zone change for a cannabis directly south of Second Street. So this would bring them up to our regulations for the 300 feet separation from residential areas, if we would change that to commercial general.
Okay, so Mr. Finch just mentioned that it was gonna continue to be a repair shop.
No, this is Mr. May, the actual applicant. Right.
Okay.
Any further questions? Is there anyone from the audience that wishes to speak about this?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a problem with this request.
Sure. If you will just raise your right hand for me. Do you swear and affirm that the statement you give today will be truthful?
I do.
Thank you.
My name is Shad DeFore, and I'm not associated with him, but I am very familiar with what y'all have done with the zoning surrounding cannabis. That 300-foot residential rule almost kills every part of Clovis when trying to come in anywhere in the city. So I would definitely support changing one little area so that someone could use their existing property and be in compliance with the regulations that are a little extreme. That's all I'll say for now.
Okay.
And sir, what was your address, by the way?
My address is 109 East Manana.
Thank you, sir. Did you want to say further?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna object to this, or I'm gonna have a problem with this. If we start doing zone changes, so these cannabis dispensaries start coming in, we're gonna have a bunch of them everywhere.
Any further comments from the commission?
I don't have a problem with the business, I just do have a problem with the process that is being, if we approve this, then we're gonna set a precedent, and we're gonna have a problem in the future.
I tend to agree. I wish we'd have known this from the get-go.
Commissioner Smith, were you about to say something? I'm sorry.
Yeah, consistency on this piece of the land also. We're changing this to commercial. This becomes a very patchwork. I mean, it is a patchwork now, but it becomes a very patchwork area of what we're going to do with that. Seeing this packet, the next one also is moving residential to commercial. I agree with the precedents. I agree with having the applicant here. I think I need a little bit further explanation on whenever we look at the map, right? The property to the left is the one that is the repair shop, correct? So if you're looking at the page, the left bottom part of that yellow square, correct?
We're looking at, so Weatherford is what we're looking at, correct?
Right, yes.
So
That would be the west side of Weatherford?
correct. On the west side of Weatherford, correct.
Yeah, and the southwest.
220 is the applicant's address.
You're right.
So that would be the northern, the
Okay.
northwest corner.
Any other comments? This side is kind of quiet. Okay. All right, would anyone like to add any more to this discussion? Yes, sir.
Do I need to swear again?
Oh, you
Okay, Shadfor again. If y'all didn't want to have to start rezoning districts, there needed to be an allowance for variances in your licensing process for the, I mean, this is surrounded, I'm looking at the map right now, just like y'all are. The backside of those mobile homes is shops and
Well, I
manufacturing.
think I'm gonna interject right there. Variances are not allowed by the state statute, correct? Is that what we talked about?
No, variances on what y'all decide is allowed. Y'all got to decide that, on the
think
local
he's-
control measures.
I think he's speaking to variances to our ordinances, which are allowed by amendment.
Okay.
That, I mean, that would fix most of it. That way y'all can decide on a case-by-case basis. There could be like a public hearing like this. There could be naysayers, and then you're not doing a rezoning on, you know, the already patchy Clovis. We discussed it last time. There's not a lot of addresses that fit the requirements, and there's no way around it at all outside of what he's doing. And he's not even really trying to get around it because all these places are used for commercial in this little area anyways. So that's the easy fix on it, is a variance. But there's a lot of things that need to change with y'all's ordinance. We can get to that later though. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, just for purposes of how the process works, and so you guys are probably well aware, but for the audience's information too, obviously the Planning and Zoning Board is making a recommendation to the City Commission. And so whatever action you take today, the final action and decision will ultimately be made by the City Commission. So like I said, the process you're going through is a recommendation to the City Commission.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Going once. Going, oh,
Motion to approve, and then we can
Okay.
vote yes or no,
Yes.
just so we have something on the record.
so we have a motion from Commissioner London, and I see we need a second.
Second.
Second by Klein. Call roll.
Vice Chair Lennon,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
No.
Chairman Soul,
No.
Commissioner Garza, Commissioner Smith,
No.
Commissioner Klein,
No.
Commissioner Stewart.
Yes.
With the majority voting in the negative, motion fails to pass.
And the recommendation will be heard at our next regularly scheduled City Commission meeting, which will be held next Thursday.
Okay, so next Thursday, you guys can show up there too for the city commission as well, okay? Next item on the agenda, approval of zone change from residential single-family district mobile home overlay to commercial general district. Address of the zone change is 912 East Grand. Staff, will you go ahead and brief us on this?
Yes, so this request at 912 East Grand is the owner would like to set up a car dealership at that address, is what this one's for. The request for approval of rezoning of Block 23, Lot 6 through 11, Clovis Place subdivision from RS7 mobile home overlay to commercial general, meets the requirements of Chapter 17 of the city's Unified Development Ordinance, and is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. There is no compelling evidence that would that there would be a threat to public health, safety, and welfare, which is unique to this request. All adjoining property owners within 100 feet of the proposed rezoning were notified, and there were 0% protest. I would like to add, though, that there was one gentleman that came in favor, the neighbor to the west of this address.
Do we have the applicant here? Would you like to say anything to us? No?
I have some questions.
Okay. And we will swear you in as well. Do you swear and affirm that the statements you give today will be truthful?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner?
So you're gonna put a dealership? Used
Yeah,
car
a
dealership?
used car dealership, yes.
Is there anything there that is the same thing? Presently?
No, on the one side, there's a church, and then on the other side, there's a vacant mobile home. But, yeah,
That's it, just the church right next to you.
yes,
All right, thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I can entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion
Second.
by Commissioner Travis and second by Commissioner Smith. Guess we can call roll.
You, Vice Chair London,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Chairman Soul,
Yes.
Commissioner Garza,
Abstain.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Klein,
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart.
Yes.
With majority voting in the affirmative, motion passes. And that too will be going to City Commission, ma'am. So, now. Next on the agenda is a discussion and recommendation of regarding revisions to Chapter 17.45 of the City Code. Council Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, members of the commission. So it was a little less than a year ago when we had our study session after our initial draft was proposed on the sign code, and we got some feedback from you all, from the general public, and I think at your direction, at the City Commission's direction, we started engaging sort of the local business community and the Clovis Sign Coalition, which was a group formed and spearheaded by Brandon New, who owns Clovis Sign, to kind of get some feedback from business owners. Our initial draft was extremely restrictive and was meant to be as kind of a starting place. And so you've been emailed, each of you, two items. One is our current sign code, and then the other one is the most recent draft. I also have in front of me the draft from our initial study session at the beginning of the year. And so with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to kind of go through it and first tell you what the differences are between the two drafts and then open it up for discussion.
Please.
I can tell you, just as a preface, everything that's in our current draft has been agreed upon and compromised with the sign coalition and some other members of the community. With the exception of one area, freestanding signs, there's still a difference of opinions there, and I'll kind of get into that and circle back to that later. But what you have in front of you is the result of compromise, and except for the freestanding signs that I'll note later, everything else has been approved by the Clovis Sign Coalition and everyone that we've dealt with. So just to begin, the first section, I think that substantive section that begins is residential signs on page, should be page 8. And so not too many differences between the original draft and our current draft. We did get some feedback from the real estate community and Ms. Brumfield about the way we had worded how long you can leave your sign up after closing. It was ambiguous about, when the final sale was consummated. So we cleaned up that language to indicate that it would be at the closing. We also allowed signs for open houses at their direction, and I believe that was it. And on the corners, we allowed 2 for each corner. That was a change. We just had 1 before that. The big substantive change as you move on to page 10 is that we had originally lumped commercial general and, page 11, and central business districts together, and then had a separate section for industrial. And the reason that we did that is because we had come up with a way to allow signs and to quantify the size and height of signs based on zone and based on street frontage. We've done away with that, and now we're regulating signs based on the type of street and whether or not the street is arterial, residential, or whether it's US 6084. And so to accomplish that, we grouped in the new sign code commercial, general, industrial, and central business districts together. So starting on page 11 with attached signs, the first draft had one attached sign per wall, 1 square foot for each linear foot of wall in terms of the size. The new sign code has 5 per wall, and instead of measuring them based on linear square foot of the wall, it's 15% of the wall is what they can cover between the 5 of them. And so I think that's more consistent with what businesses are currently doing. Most of them, restaurants and retail businesses have much more than one attached sign. So that was a compromise that we had come up with respect to attached signs. We also had omitted a section for canopy signs, and so that was pointed out to us, and so we've included a section for canopy signs. We now allow 3 on each side of the canopy with no sign being larger than 50 square feet. Freestanding signs. So again, in our old code, it depended on the zone and street frontage and street type. It was very restrictive. The largest was 100 square foot. Under the new code, we allow 1 per lot unless you have more than 600 feet of street frontage. And the size solely depends on the type of the street. And so you'll see on page 11, I'm sorry, 12, we have the tables for setbacks, for height, and for size. And so essentially 60, 70, 84, and US 6084, as we all know, is Mabry Drive and runs along the south end of Clovis. We are going to include a colored map that shows exactly what the collector and arterial streets are. And then it should have a designation, I think either orange or pink. We've messed with a couple of drafts. And then we're going to do the same thing for street size. It shows exactly where in Clovis the collector and arterial streets are. So basically 3 different types of designations. If you're on a residential street, you get a 20 feet high and 120 square foot size. If you're on a collector and arterial, so Prince or Llano or 21st, 30 feet in height, 120 square foot size. And then along 60, 70, 84, those businesses will get a 35-foot sign up to 200 square feet. Just while I'm on that subject, so the closest we came with the Business Owners Coalition, they are requesting under Table 2 residential height, 35 feet. Under collector and arterial, 40 to 35 feet, 40 feet for collectors, 35 for arterials. I'm sorry, other way around, 35 for collector, 40 for arterial, and 60-foot height on 60, 70, 84. In terms of size, we have 120, 120, 200. They have 200 for residential, 300 for collector and arterial, and 400 for 60, 70, 84. Mr. Holt and I felt like we really couldn't get to those numbers, especially considering the maximum height for billboards is only 35 feet and 300 square foot in size, and that was something that we had all agreed to. And so we found those to be a little excessive and put what's in there now to be what we think is reasonable and for your consideration. Temporary signs were not changed. Directional signs were added. We were informed that we had no provision for the small directional signs for entrances, marking exits and entrances at businesses, and so we've added that at their request. So 2 for each property, no larger than 8 square foot for each sign. Flags have not changed. Off-premises signs and billboards on page 16. So we increased those and we came to the compromise, like I mentioned earlier, 300 square feet in size, minimum spacing of 500 square feet between billboards, and then I misspoke earlier, I said 35 feet, but 40 feet would be the new proposed size for billboards. Other than that, the rest of it is basically unchanged. And with that, Commissioner, I'd be happy to, or Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
Thank you. Does any of the commissioners have any questions, comments?
Yeah, Mr. Morris, I have a question. That was kind of one of my big things. So what you guys did here, you you guys have been working hand in hand, I guess, this whole time, with the committee as far as what they're gonna agree on except the freestanding sign.
Correct. As far as I know, everything in there is kosher with them, except they don't agree to where we are on freestanding signs, and we don't agree with where they are, so.
Any more questions or comments? Okay.
So this item doesn't necessarily have to start at and initiate at planning and zoning, but we think it would be desirable and better to do it this way. So if we could just have a vote on a recommendation or modifications to this, a recommendation, but something to present to the city commission with your recommendation this evening.
So you're asking for a motion of recommendation?
Right, either a recommendation to approve it as written or a recommendation to approve it with amendments. Again, just something that we can present to them at their next meeting.
Does any commissioner wish to make that motion?
Motion for recommendation.
Motion by Commissioner London.
Second.
And a second. Oh. Guess we'll call roll.
Chairman Soul,
Yes.
Commissioner Garza. Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Klein,
Yep.
Commissioner Stewart,
Yes.
Vice Chair London,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore.
Yes.
It's all voting in the affirmative, motion passes. So that will go to recommendation. All right. Thank you, Mr. Morrison,
Thank you.
for that. Seeing no other items, it looks like the date and time of our next scheduled meeting will be December 7th, 2021 at 3 p.m., same location. Is there any further comments, something anyone wants to say before we adjourn? Okay. Can I just adjourn since there's no further business?
Correct.
Okay. All right, seeing no further business, meeting adjourned.